You too.
Thank you.
You too.
Theater 13?
Thank you. So that was Warfare by Alex Garland and Rain Mendoza. This marks another Alex Garland movie I've seen recently. The other one was Civil War. Alex Garland also did 28 Days Later. I think he was involved with 28 Weeks Later. 28 Years Later, which is coming out soon. Sunshine, Annihilation, Men. I've seen most of these, actually. Then Ray Mendoza, I recognize him. I don't think he ever directed anything distinct, but he has been given a co-credit for direction with Alex Garland. I mean, the movie is more or less based on his experience in Ramadi back in 2006. He was a technical advisor, I believe, with some familiar movies, actually. Act of Valor, Mile 22, Terminal List. I think he was also in Model for 19 as a advisor as well, or maybe mocap. But on to the movie. It was only 90 minutes. And since the premise is more about chronicling the first-hand experience and events of the SEAL team, they didn't do any real skips or jumps or edits. The movie was kind of brutal, but I don't think it was unnecessarily brutal, because this is definitely a movie that wasn't trying to glorify action set pieces in war. It was kind of meant to be indicative of the horrors, the terrible tragedy and loss those guys went through over there. Like, there was a couple of shots where they definitely focused on the casualties a lot longer than I feel like a typical mainstream action film would. But this is the story from those guys. I remember reading, or was it watching an interview, he stated that the premise at the beginning, instead of it saying based on a true story, it's based on the memories of these men. Because what does based on a true story actually mean? It kind of feels like it's lost a bit of its weight or its value. Writers and directors take creative liberties almost to the extreme. True stories are nice, but sometimes the fiction is what we would rather believe. But then again, sometimes the real stories are so fantastical that you can't write it. I wouldn't call it an epic movie, but it definitely distilled the experiences of those guys down to that 90-minute section of time. I don't know if the passage of time was completely one-to-one. There was a couple of cuts between the start of the operation at night and then posting up. But I obviously can't speak for everybody. It definitely leaves something to think about. The utter sheer brutality of war. And I personally think that I've never been to war, and I don't think I ever want to. So I can't speak to the movie's realism, but it definitely feels authentic. And I guess they tried really hard to acquire all the memories and the anecdotes of the men who served. And all they did was change the names slightly. Overall, I'm not claiming it's a must-watch, but it definitely was an experience seeing it in a theater. The bass, the sound design, kind of the visceral detail and close-up of the gore of war. It was awful, but not in a quality way. Just in a grounding, personable way. When you realize that the given story wasn't just the experience of those men. It was one of many. But hey, I think it was worth the ticket. So, that's that. Time for food. Can I have a half chow mein, half fried rice? Orange chicken and chicken teriyaki? you. You too. So it's the weekend, and of course, I go see the movies. The movie I went and saw is probably RFK's worst nightmare, The Accountant 2. It was fun watching Batman team up with Punisher to help Commissioner Gordon, but was kind of wishing Pitch Perfect would still be in there. Jokes aside, it's an alright movie. I did watch The First Accountant. It was definitely fun, though. They gave ample development to Ben Affleck's character, and they provided a little more background to John Bernathal's character. Ben Affleck playing a brainy, smart guy kind of reminds me of The Paycheck from a long time ago. I was reading about how the director or the writer was considering making it a trilogy. I don't know where they're going to go. They definitely divvied up the focus. It wasn't purely on Christopher Wolfe or Ben Affleck's character. They did distribute it out a bit between the fintech girl or the gal from the first movie who was working with J.K. Simmons. I don't remember her name. The actress's name. It was kind of fun that the way they characterized his tech support upgrade from the first film, instead of just one neurodivergent woman with a supercomputer, now has a team of neurodivergent kids hacking into shit. It's actually kind of funny. I mean, I'm willing to have that as a believable means of hand-waving the electronic warfare capability of Ben Affleck's character. The movie had a satisfying conclusion, and is overall enjoyable. It didn't have to be seen in theaters, but it was quite fun. I'm just curious what they'll have in store for the third one. It's got to have a bit of finality to it. He does reconcile with his brother, at least, in the end of this film. But next week is Thunderbolts. We'll see what the next pile of MCU drivel they come out with. It looks interesting, though. I'll give it a chance.